What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dad Does Videos. Today I'm coming at you from my bathroom because I wanted to talk a little bit about a colonoscopy that I got in the past few weeks. And if you get a colonoscopy, you're going to be spending a lot of time in the bathroom the day before and the day of. I wanted to share my experience because I know a lot of people get a little anxious, they get a little nervous when you start bringing up the whole colonoscopy thing. A lot of people haven't been through it. They think the prep is really bad. They're afraid of going under anesthesia. They're afraid of what the doctor might find. But I'm here to tell you, if anything, it was a minor inconvenience. And even though the prep liquid that you have to take wasn't great, it wasn't awful either. I do want to first start with the reasons why I got a colonoscopy. So I'm almost 48 years old. The guidance right now is to get a colonoscopy whenever you are 45 or older. I'll be honest, my doctor suggested I should get one almost 3 years ago when I turned 45, and I was really good at procrastinating, right? Like, I've got time to do that. This is in the way. I've got that coming. And honestly, at this point, I don't even know why I waited this long. Because did you know, and I promise I'm not going to fill this whole thing with statistics, because if you're watching this, you're probably interested. You already know you should probably do it. But a little more than 4% of the population will get colon cancer. But if you think about that, that's 1 in every 20 or 25 people. That's a lot when you think about that. And I didn't want to become one of those statistics. I want to be around a long time. I want to see all my kids graduate from high school, college, get married, and hopefully have kids of their own. Screening colonoscopy costs you nothing. It is a preventive service. If you have health insurance, it costs you $0. Now, if they find polyps in there, they can remove them actually when they're in there. So yes, that will cost you a little bit of money because it turns into a diagnostic service. But if they're already in there, if you're already asleep when they're doing it, you're gonna want them to get those out anyway. And lastly, and this is really the thing that triggered me to get one, I found out a few months ago that one of my friends from college, who's actually a year younger, died from colon cancer. That one was the one that really kind of kicked me into high gear and say, I just got to take care of this. I don't want that to happen to me. That one hit just a little bit too close to home. Okay, so your prep really starts about a week out. My colonoscopy was at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, so the Tuesday before I started prepping. So at least for my directions, that meant to stop any over-the-counter medications, any dietary like vitamin supplements. You have to remove those from your diet. One thing I wanted to point out here, though, I've seen a lot of other people say, hey, you should start to go lighter when you're eating, or maybe start to eat some other foods that are easier to digest. That was not included in my instructions, and I did not follow that. So I had what I would typically have in a week, whether that's pasta, whether that's pizza, whether that's chicken. I ate the same way. So speed up, right? 2 days before my appointment, we're talking Sunday. So this is when you start to do even more prep. I was told to not eat anything with corn, nuts, seeds, raw vegetables, and raw fruit. The reason being, those foods are all harder to digest. This is also the beginning stage of when you are not permitted to drink alcohol. So from this stage through your colonoscopy, there's no more alcohol involved at all. My instructions also included to drink 32 ounces of a sports drink, so Gatorade, Powerade, any of those types of things. I actually drank 2 because I felt like I wanted to be more hydrated and ready to go for the prep. At 9 p.m. at night, I took 2 5-milligram Ducalax laxative tablets. Those were instructed by my physician to take those, followed by a 16-ounce glass of water. So while technically you're allowed to eat whatever you want on this day, I ate a pretty solid breakfast and a decent sized lunch, and then probably after about 1:30 or 2, I didn't eat much the rest of the day. I did make myself some ramen for dinner. So those of you who like noodles, you might like this. I felt like just having something in my stomach that's a little bit lighter and not something greasy and heavy like wings or cheese fries or anything like that would probably benefit me the next day when I have to drink the prep liquid and go through all those steps and go through the situation where I'm going to be in the bathroom a lot. I do feel like that helped out a lot. I feel like my prep, and I'll get to this in a second, wasn't as bad as I think it could have been because there wasn't as much in my stomach. Okay, so the day before the prep, my instructions were to eat nothing at all, and I think those are pretty standard instructions for anybody who's going through a colonoscopy. This is basically a no solid food day. You're basically instructed to drink clear liquids, which is kind of funny because you're allowed to drink coffee with no cream. You're allowed to drink colored liquids. They just can't be red or purple because the dyes in those interfere with the doctor trying to look in your colon. They could appear as if it's blood in your colon when it really isn't. I basically survived on Gatorade throughout the day, lime jello, because you're allowed to have some jello because it's basically water just congealed, right? And white grape juice. And I think it's important to drink some of the beverages that do have some calories in them. If you are just drinking water all day, or the no calorie beverages, or some of even the jellos that I had just had like 10 calories in one of those little pre-made cups, you're not getting enough calories in your system. Now this is just my advice, right? This isn't a doctor's advice. I think it's beneficial for you to take advantage of the drinks that put more calories in your system because your body needs calories. The morning of my prep day, I had to get my prep liquid ready, and there are multiple kinds of preps that you could have. I had the big gallon jug, I think it was called PEG, P-E-G, where you have to put in a gallon of water in this jug, shake it up really, really, really well to everything dissolves, and then put it in the refrigerator. And I think it's important to do this early in the day because you are going to want that mixture cold. It's way easier to drink and way more palatable to drink when it's cold. I've heard a lot of people talk about how afraid they are they're just going to get so hungry during the day. And I was hungry. That subsided at probably about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I just got used to, or at least my body got used to not eating. So I reached a point in the day where I got really hungry, but it just subsided and didn't really bother me the rest of the day. 1 hour before I started my prep drink, I did take anti-nausea medication. I took those once every 6 hours. Those are prescribed to me. I figured if they're prescribing them to me, I might as well take them. There's no downside to them. So at 6 p.m., that's when the magic happens. That's when I had to start drinking my PEG special prep juice. In my instructions, I had to drink 8 ounces of the special liquid every 15 minutes or so over the course of 2 hours. And I've heard various people say, hey, it's better to drink it fast, it's better to drink it slow. I kind of pace myself. If I have 2 hours to drink 64 ounces of liquid, I'm gonna try to drink it once every 15 minutes or so. So that's what I try to do. I think it's easier to kind of pace yourself rather than getting all that liquid in your system all at one time. I also think it's helpful to have one of those pretty wide straws. I don't know if you go to a place that serves milkshakes, they typically have those really wide straws. I would try to get one of those, and if you could use that within your prep liquid and try to get to a lot of the liquid to the back of your mouth past your taste buds, I think that's really helpful to avoid some of the bad taste. Now again, like I mentioned at the top of the video, the taste wasn't exceedingly bad. It's kind of, I guess, lemon lime flavored. It's a little thicker probably than what you're expecting with water, but it's not awful. It's not something I would choose to drink every day, but it's not awful. If you're curious, about 30 to 40 minutes after I had my first glass of the prep drink, I started to have to use the bathroom, and I was probably in the bathroom once every 15 minutes or so after that for the next couple of hours. All right, so day of the procedure. My procedure started at 9 o'clock, like I mentioned earlier, so I had to drink the rest of my prep liquid starting at 4 o'clock and be finished by 6 o'clock. So I got up at 3:30, took a shower, got myself ready for the day, drank all that liquid just in the same way that I did the previous night. Oddly enough, I thought it was going to be harder to drink all that stuff at 4 o'clock in the morning, but it wasn't bad at all, and maybe that's just because I got used to it the night before. At 6 o'clock, when I was all finished with that, I took one 125 milligram tablet of Gas X, again, prescribed to me. And then that was it. There's nothing else allowed to eat, of course, at this point, or drink until my procedure that started at 9 o'clock. So, my wife took me to the hospital, we rolled in, I stopped at the registration desk, they asked me for a little bit of information, confirmed that my wife was going to take me home. And if you don't know by now, maybe you should, but you need someone there to drive you home. They will not let you leave the hospital without somebody because you're going to be groggy from the anesthesia when you wake up. After we checked in, I rolled over to the place within the hospital that actually does the colonoscopy, checked in there, let them know I was there, kind of stood around for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and a nurse came out and got me. I went back to the pre-op room, I guess, if you want to look at it like that, and got completely undressed and put on one of those really fashionable hospital gowns. Told the nurse I was ready for the next step. She came back in, got the IV line set up in me. She didn't start the anesthesia or anything like that, just got it set up, and put heart and oxygen monitors on me as well. Again, standard procedure. Anesthesiologist rolled in, asked me some questions about if I've ever had anesthesia before, if I have any allergies, told me a little bit more about what to expect. Nothing, again, out of the ordinary at all. About 15 or 20 minutes later, another nurse came in, asked me if I was ready. I said yes, and she rolled me down to the actual room that I got the colonoscopy in. I met the doctor. He told me exactly what he was going to do. There were 2 other nurses in there as well. The nurse anesthetist put the breathing apparatus on my nose, and those are the things that you often see in movies that help you breathe, the couple of tubes that go up your nostrils, very non-invasive, but the idea here is they just want you to constantly have oxygen while you're asleep, basically. The nurse anesthetist then connected the IV drip in my arm and told me I'm going to feel a lot of cold sensation at first and then a lot of warmer sensation. And I got about 10 or 15 seconds in and it felt like I instantly had like a couple beers and that was it. And then I woke up in the recovery room probably about 20 minutes after I rolled in there. My wife was there. I was a little groggy for maybe about 5 minutes or so, a little confused on where I was and what happened, but it came back to me pretty quickly. One of the nurses came in, got all the breathing and heart monitors off of me and the IV line out, and then they rolled me outside in a wheelchair to my wife's car because they will not let you walk after you've been under anesthesia. Got a burger on the way home just because I felt so hungry. I feel like you hear a lot of people will talk about, oh, you probably shouldn't eat this food or maybe you should eat that food. They basically told me, hey, try to stay away from greasy or fried foods or anything really heavy throughout the rest of the day. A burger sounded good to me, so I ate that. Later in the day, we went out and got some tacos, and I had some ice cream too. I had no ill effects from the anesthesia or the colonoscopy itself. And really, after going through this, it's a really minor inconvenience for you. Yeah, you have to do some fasting, and you have to be on a liquid diet, and you have to go through some of the prep work, and you're in the bathroom a lot, but it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And even in the hospital itself, there was always that anxiety of, oh, what's gonna happen? What are they gonna find? What's gonna happen to me when I go under? It was absolutely worth it, and I'll do it again in another 10 years to keep that colon cancer away. Thanks for watching, everybody.